The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. Talk Radio. I hope that you will give us a like and subscribe and ring the bell and all that kind of good stuff. I'm required to say that according to my executive producer. So in any event, we are here. It is a Monday, and it's a great day to be here because we've got a great series of shows actually, but this is probably the leading off is the best show of the day. And of course I'll say that on the next show too. Never mind. But the one thing that I didn't do is I didn't ask Kristina if she wanted to use her just Kristina Mand. Is it Mand?
But
Give me your last name.
So thank you, Kevin, for having me. Thank you for being so kind and saying nice words about this show. Well, my family name is very complicated, Kristina Mand-Lakhiani. In fact, today was on Estonian TV, and the host had a bit of a trouble pronouncing it after trying it. So I think it's just a curse, or maybe the blessing. I don't know.
Well, it can be a blessing because I'm not even going to give it a shot. So, so I'm just going to say Kristina, and so you were on Estonia TV today.
Yes, I was a little early. In fact, my parents are upstairs watching it now.
Oh, what did you talk about when you were there?
Well, happiness and Mindvalley.
Oh, that's very good. By the way, if you want to follow along with us, you can by go to Kristina Mand, MAND.com.
And Kristina with a K.
Kristina with a K.
Yeah.
That's correct. And without an H. And so KristinaMand.com, and you can learn all about what's going on in her world. And I got to ask you, because you've got a great website, you've got a great message, you've got a great program that you're operating. Where did all that come from?
Well, it's a long story. I'm mostly known as a co-founder of Mindvalley. And Mindvalley is the leading educational platform in personal growth and transformation. And I did most of the time, I did my work as a marketer, as an entrepreneur. But at 40, I had a very stereotypical midlife crisis. And I decided to take a sabbatical and to think what I want to do next. So I ended up reevaluating my life, and I decided that I'm ready to teach. I'm ready to become an author, a writer, and that's where my programs and my own website comes from.
Everybody in my world that I know or have talked to at one point in life has an epiphany where they ask two questions. I've said this many times, but it bears repeating. The first question is this all there is to life? I mean, I go to work, I do this, I do that, but is this all there is? And the other thing is, why am I really here? What am I here to do?
I think these are fundamental existential questions that everybody asks for centuries, for thousands of years, because if we look at philosophers or writers of the past, they all ask that question, why am I here? But I also think that's the beauty of life. I think maybe that's the reason why are we here, to find the answer to that. And who am I to tell people why they are there here on Earth? And I believe that there are it's more than 7 billion, almost 8 billion people right now, and probably there are that many reasons and meanings why people are on planet Earth. I somehow really like Oscar Wilde's words. He says, life is too important to be taken seriously. And maybe that would make it a little more enjoyable if we just didn't take it so damn seriously.
Well, I love, and I'm going through your website as a good host should. And one of the things that you say is that it's not all work. Accepting yourself is also about pleasure and
Mm.
play. So it's not like a down serious thing. It's about the enjoyment and the celebration of life.
Hmm. You know, I find it interesting. People tend to take things seriously if they're important, and that's, I guess, where Oscar Wilde's quote comes from. And I also think it's just this idea, or maybe a belief that we all share, that important things have to be serious, and if something if something well, if something is important, essentially you have to put work into that. I'm not a huge fan of considering everything hard work, because hard work is just so dreadful. And
So
imagining
hard.
living your whole life doing hard work in business, hard work in with health, with nutrition, hard work with relationships, with love, it just doesn't sound fun to me. And I think it is also how you choose to look at that. At some point, after maybe after I divorced, so it was a few years ago, I suddenly decided that I would like to reimagine love. For example, I don't think love should be hard. It's not difficult for me to love my children, for example. A good friend of mine says, again, I'm not being super serious, but a good friend of mine, Nina, she says, life is simple and deep, but we often make it shallow and complicated. And I think that's the problem with over overcomplicating, making something so hard, something so important, that we forget to just be in the moment and enjoy it as it is.
By the way, that's a T-shirt right there. So, and but you're right. I'm a firm believer that if you're in what we call the flow, and let me explain what the flow is. When you are in the flow of life, when you're doing when you're passionate about what you're doing and you're doing everything that you really want to do, it's easy. It's no longer a dreadful, painful thing that you have to put up with or you have to work through. It's easy and it's fun. And
Mhm.
I think that's really why we're here, is to have we look at the around us, the beauty of the planet that we have, the beautiful people that are on it, and I think it's our job to enjoy what
Mhm.
we've been given, as well as do the best we can be kind and to be loving and to be caring. Don't you think?
Mhm. Definitely. However, contemporary society is still not completely ready to accept the paradigm that success might not require sweat, blood, and sacrifice and the dreadful hard work. Because from childhood, we are taught that to be successful, we have to sacrifice something, to put something on the altar of success, and that's the paradigm with which all of us grow up. I personally believe that there are two ways of achieving success. One of them is definitely through hard discipline and sweat and blood and sacrifices, because that's how society has survived until now. But there is another way, which maybe we as a society should start exploring, where we achieve success through doing something that we love. And in that case, yes, it might occasionally require, work through moods, or be a little disciplined, but it doesn't have to be sweat, blood, and sacrifice and hard work, unless you believe that.
And unless you choose it to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm a firm believer that if you follow your passion. Now, okay, I do anywhere from 7 to 12 podcasts a week. I love doing it. I love talking to beautiful people like yourself. And are there things I don't necessarily enjoy about putting them together? Yes. This is the part that I really enjoy, is to talking to people like you. And but that doesn't mean that I don't deal with those things to get to the good stuff. But it's
Mhm.
always about the good stuff, and which is doing being I'm passionate about doing this, and I really love the message that people like you have to share with us. And
Mhm.
you've also got she's got programs. She's got programs for us to work with. So that's which is really cool. And I love what your mission statement says, which is to help you create an extraordinary life by making authenticity the heart of your being. Explain
Mhm.
how to make authenticity the heart of your being.
So I believe that This is a nice way to put it, like a more more copywriting way of putting it. If I put it very simply, I think the easiest thing in earth is to be on earth is to be yourself. And if you just allow yourself to express yourself as you are, and you will find actually strength in all your quirks, in the things that maybe sometimes you try to suppress or cover up or change. And it is really, I think we are hovering around the same idea of success. What makes something a success? And I truly believe that if we learned from the very early age that understanding yourself, knowing what makes you happy, not the society's definition of what means your success versus you're a loser, but what makes you truly happy. Following that, what you love to do, being true to yourself, that I think is a much surer way to success. But you see, all of us at some point in life end up in this fork in the road where we have to choose something between happiness and success. And I believe that subconsciously, we all tend to choose success over happiness, because we, as society, usually takes success very pragmatically. So there is almost like a tutorial how to achieve success: work hard, study well, get a good job, and all of that stuff. We define success very precisely. So when we are at the fork in the road, we often think that success is a more certain path. It may be less enjoyable, but it is certain. And certainly, if you're successful, you're supposed to be happy, right? Whereas when we think about happiness, we think it's a gamble, because there is no definition of happiness, of what is happiness. There is no definition, and often, if there is this dilemma, then obviously happiness is something opposite from what society defines as success. A very classical example would be a young person who is trying to choose the career in life. I loved astrophysics, but I studied public
Really?
administration because working for the government seemed like a better idea, because that is a more certain job, better pay. What can I do as an astrophysicist? Become an academic, underpaid scientist? Uh, so we often, when we are choosing between what your heart wants and what society defines as success, we think that following the heart is a gamble. In fact, recently, quite a lot of speakers with name and with authority were saying, don't follow your heart, it's a bad advice. Well, I think that's a bad advice, to say not to follow your heart. So when I talk about authenticity, I actually talk about just being true to yourself, just learning to be honest with yourself, being true to yourself. And the best part of that whole story is learning to accept yourself fully, the things that you're proud of and the things that you're not proud of. And if we go even further, finding strength in those things that you maybe are ashamed of, but that are part of you, uniquely part of you. So that's actually the courage to follow your heart and to define your own success, to define your own path in life. And I truly, strongly believe that if you follow what you love to do, you will never have the question of discipline, of hard work. You will just follow your passion, and you're much more likely to achieve success, world-class success.
I couldn't agree with you more. As a matter of fact, the Gospel according to Braveheart, the movie, at one point, the father, when he's already passed away, but um, um, William Wallace was a child, and he looked at his dad, and his dad turned to him and said, "Your heart is free. Have the courage to follow it." And
Yes.
that's kind of a mantra of mine, because your heart is free. You get a choice. That's a beautiful thing, is that you have free will. But in the process of trying to do that, we are told from a very early age, don't do that. Oh, you're too fat. Sit up straight. Elbows off the table. Don't talk back, young man. Children should be seen and not heard. And when you grow up, you'll learn that life is hard and it's miserable and it's tough. And so we take those things in when we are children. How do you get people? And I know you're working hard to do this. How do you get people to accept themselves for who they are and to get out of those voices that mine sounds like my mother? But we all have voices in the back of our heads. How do you get them out of that?
Well, it's a process, of course, but I think one of the ideas to understand is that it's not really the society that requires that of us. Society doesn't care. To be honest, nobody cares. Well, maybe the closest people do, but people care to have an opinion and sometimes to voice an opinion. But do they really care what choice you make? It's
Nope.
very unlikely. So one of the important things to understand is that actually a lot of the barriers and rules and the nagging voice, a lot of that comes from us. Yes, we've heard it. Yes, we've learned it, but we keep repeating it as our own gospel. So maybe it was mama or a teacher who used to be super careful and tell you, don't go there, don't try this, it's dangerous, and then you keep saying that to yourself. These people may be gone out of your life for years, but you keep saying that because that's what you're used to hearing. But these are not the other people's voices, this is your own voice. So I think the journey to yourself, it's first of all, it's a dangerous journey because it's a one-way journey. You can't like if you go out of that house on that path, you can't come back the same person. And I don't remember exactly which of the Tolkien books it was, Hobbit, I believe, not where Hobbit asked Gandalf, uh, can you promise me that I'll be back? And Gandalf said, no, and even if you are, you won't be the same. And that's the path to yourself. We have to understand that this is a one-way ticket. You cannot switch it off once you learn to be honest with yourself, once you understand yourself. You can't just live with that because it's your truth that you have to swallow. But that aside, I think one of the first steps is to understand that you are your first critic. And the world really is just there to reflect, but to reflect your own relationship with yourself. So if you have problems with the world, look inside yourself and see what are your problems with yourself, because once you fix those, your problems with the world will be fixed.
By the way, I have to say, you have a marvelous accent.
Thank you.
Are you from Estonia originally, or were you from like Great Britain or something?
I'm bilingual by birth, and I think that's why my accent is a little complicated to understand, because I don't have a very clear one or the other accent. From birth, I speak Estonian and Russian, but I did study in UK for a while, but in Scotland though, so I don't have a Scottish accent.
So you're actually trilingual because you're speaking in English and you've got Estonia and you've got Russian in your
Yes.
background as well. So
No,
that's
I
that's that's re- that's really cool. I don't even speak English well. I just want you to know that. But let's talk about, you've got lots of programs and things that you do for people. One of which is 7 Days to Happiness. Could
am.
you explain what 7 Days to Happiness is, and is it possible?
It's well, happiness is a simple topic that a lot of people relate to, and when I go and speak somewhere very well, in a very unusual audience, like on TV, I was speaking about happiness because this is the icebreaker topic. Everybody understands happiness. Um, is it possible within 7 days? That's a very interesting question. I believe the transformation happens momentarily. When is that moment going to happen is unpredictable. But the thing with transformation is that it doesn't happen when you want it to happen. So, for example, you want to become happy because you're miserable, or because you are not quite happy, or because you're stuck, whatever is the reason. And you go and start learning it and start studying. And there are a lot of speeches and talks and books and research on that. And you can learn all of that, but is it going to make you happy? The thing with information is that, while it's cognitively in your head, it doesn't change your life. It's like a book on a shelf. It's good to have. You might be able to read it, but it doesn't change your life. What changes your life is when the information travels from your cognitive, from your head, from the understanding into the cellular level, when you feel life differently. So is 7 days enough to learn to be happy? I use 7 days to give certain ideas and exercises for people to try so that they get the experience, because it's not the knowledge, as I said, that changes your life. It's the experience, because experience sometimes brings that knowledge from your head into your cellular level. And that's what I can give within 7 days. Are you going to get transformation within 7 days? Are you going to get it on day one because suddenly you heard that one piece of the puzzle which put everything in place? Or is it going to happen in a year when you are actually ready? This is so personal, I can't tell. But in 7 days, I can give techniques and ideas.
Which we all could use. I was talking with my son. The name of this program is Positive Talk Radio, and so, and I generally am a positive person, 95% of the time. But my son, who's now 34, says, "Now, Dad, I remember when I was growing up that there were times when you were not a happy dude." And I said, "Yes, I know, but that was an experience that I had to go through to get to where I am today." And
Mm,
I think that you're right. We need to experientially learn about life and about how we choose to present ourselves to other people and to ourselves. It's
mhm,
it's a whole lot nicer when you can be happy and kind and feel good about you and the world around you, even though we've got some troubles in the world, but you can't let that overtake you. You've got to, it would benefit you. And I think you're right in that you may not be able to do it in 7 days, but you can help give somebody the tools, because that's what you
mhm.
do. Is
Well,
you can't make anybody do anything.
yeah. The thing is that I'm not in business of fixing people.
Right.
It may sound contradictory because I'm co-founder of one of the biggest educational companies in personal growth, but that's the business that I do. And of course, uh, you have to give the information, the tools, the skills to people to change their lives. But I personally, I'm not into business of changing people because I think that people have the free will. We're coming back to the same idea to choose their experience and to choose what they want. And I've been in personal growth for 20 years, and I know you cannot force a person into being happy, into being content, into loving themselves. They will do that when they're ready for that, when they come and ask for help. So that's why yes, I do share the tools, but do I have control over, are people going to be happy or not? Of course not. But also wanted to make a side remark. When I talk about happiness, I actually don't equate happiness to positivity, because life is not all positive.
All
And
cupcakes and rainbows? No, it's not.
no, and I think that's the trick about happiness. My favorite quote about happiness is completely anonymous, so probably absolutely silly, but I think it's so brilliant. It says, "Happy are those who are on a detour but can still enjoy the scenery." And I truly believe that our life is one long detour. We think that we are going, I mean, we might be going from point A to point B, but the path is often so unpredictable.
Oh, exactly. Now, you mentioned that you are one co-creator of one of the biggest self-help or
Yeah.
program, which is Mindvalley, right?
Yes.
And how did that begin? How did you become co-founder of that?
That's that story is not completely to my credit because well, the thing is that I was about 25 when I got married, and the face of Mind Valley, the founder of Vision, well, he was my husband. He is the one who dreamed it up, who started it, who is still the face and the soul of it. But I was there the whole time from the beginning, because I moved from Estonia to New York. I had no visa. People still didn't know if I could speak English well enough for the job. So I had nothing better to do. I just helped my then husband with his new startup business. That's how I ended up in Mind Valley. It was chance. Considering that I was born and raised in Soviet Union, I was 14 when Soviet Union collapsed. In Soviet Union, business was punishable by law. You couldn't become an entrepreneur. You'll end up in jail. And personal growth, any kind of ideas of personal growth are frowned upon, because it's either academic or the state tells you what you're supposed to do. So, of course, neither business nor personal growth were anywhere in my plans, but my husband started it and I just helped him along. That's how I ended up there.
So you lived in the Soviet Union, which is now, was it now, were you living in a state or in where Russia is now, or were you in one of the satellite countries?
I lived in Estonia most of my life. I was born in Belarus. And of course, Russia is just one of the 15. And it kind of is the heir of all Soviet. But Soviet Union was the same Soviet Union all over. Of course, Moscow was the big capital that everybody was looking at. The only difference is that Estonia was annexed in 1945. So when I was born in the 70s, there were still people who had their own memories of how it was to be independent and free. So of course, it was more rebellious than the rest of the Soviet Union. But yes, I experienced the proper thing.
And by the way, I am so glad that Estonia was able to break free when the Soviet Union collapsed, and so that you could do the work that you're doing and live a life that's free. It'd be terrible. I don't know what it would be like living in the United States to have somebody tell me what I can believe and what I need to do and what I can be and what I can't be. That would be awful. So
But I think people are also adaptable, and I don't
that's also
remember
true.
Soviet Union as. Of course, I was a teenager when it collapsed, so I don't have the experience of leading a grown-up life there. Of course, right now with the way Russia is going, I don't feel like saying that it wasn't a big tragedy, because Soviet Union is still not completely ended, considering everything that's happening. We are now going into political talk, but I just want to say that we sometimes pity the people who live in those messed up countries, but they still live a life, and there are still ways to express yourself. Yes, you don't have all the freedoms, but so do many people who live in free countries. They don't have freedoms out of choice. A lot of people say, "Oh, I can't do that because I have a debt, or I have responsibilities, I have mortgage, I have family, or my family doesn't allow me." I lived 16 years in Asia, and I know how often the story is that, "Oh, but my family, they wouldn't allow me, they wouldn't want me." So we still create a lot of barriers for ourselves, because isn't it such an easy way out, off the hook? Oh no, but I can't do anything.
That's the excuse that we, oh no,
Yeah.
couldn't do that. But I'm here to tell you, and my son yells at me for this, but I'll tell you anyway. I believe life to be a journey,
Yeah.
and even if you cannot full-fledged quit your job, go live in a tent and be happy doing what you're doing, you can still make strides to do it so that, and maybe it's incremental. Maybe in my case,
Mhm.
it's like you're doing a radio show once a week on your day off. You can do your other stuff, but then you
Mhm.
you have to do a radio show or do a podcast, whatever you want to do. Or in your case, you can write or
Mhm.
do those sorts of things, and you don't have to do it all, but you can set yourself up so that when the time is right and the universe aligns with you the way it's supposed to be, then you can do it in a full time and you can make it work. At least that's my humble opinion. What do you think?
I think that that's one option. Another option is actually to find joy in what you have. And here, I'm sorry, but I'll quote Gandalf again out of
I
out,
love Gandalf.
out of Lord of the Rings now. So he was saying it to Frodo when Frodo said, "Why me?" He said, we don't always get to choose. Of course, I'm loosely quoting. We don't always get to choose the time when we live, but we get to choose to do the best with the time that we're given. So yes, circumstances are often not in our control, and I think we should have all learned that 2 years ago. That sometimes circumstances are not what we choose.
Right.
But can you get the best out of what you have, or what can you get out of what you have? I think a very sobering book is Man in Search of Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This guy's circumstances were the most miserable, but he's talking about meaning in the Nazi concentration camps. So if you can find meaning there when you have nothing, not even hope, then I'm sure you can find meaning in a job which you have to keep because you have to pay the bills.
I talk to a lot of people that have traveled the world like you have,
Hmm.
and there are people in the world who have, what we would call nothing. Nothing, not a thing. And they have maybe a hut over their head, and they have some food, and they have some water, but they're happy. They lead a
Hmm.
simple life, but they're happy because that's what they choose to be. rather than chasing our tails and getting the picket fence and the 2.3 kids and the wife that when she gets a little older, you have to get a younger one and all that. You're chasing the great tale of success, which is an illusion, uh,
Mhm.
because that doesn't really exist. You're happy
Well,
from within.
there is research actually. People have been asking that question. In fact, academics have been asking this question. Is happiness really related to success? Or to be precise, does success lead you to happiness? So the funny thing is that what they found is that, not surprised, success doesn't give you happiness. That's why, if it did, we wouldn't have very successful people kill themselves or end up in rehabs, in depression. But what they found is that actually, if you are happy, if you're in the state of happiness, you're much more likely to achieve success at whatever you're doing.
Yep.
And with that said, I want to also note a very important thing. Money is good, freedom is good, success is good. Go for it if you can. But if you can't, don't make it your curse. Do the best with what you have.
Exactly. One of the cool things is that if you decide, and it's a conscious decision, whatever you're doing, you have a choice. Like today's Monday. So if you started on Sunday night at 7 o'clock going, oh crap, I gotta go to work tomorrow. I hate going to work tomorrow. I've got to do this. And oh man, if you start with that, tomorrow's not going to be very good. But if you
Mm,
start with, I'm going to do the best job I can on Monday, and I'm not going to think about it till Monday morning, but I'm going to do everything that I can to do the best job I can. And I don't care what anybody says, up or down about that job. I'm going to do the best I can. You'll have a
mhm,
happier time, I think.
mhm. Definitely. I had a very tough lesson in getting myself back into now in the beginning of this year in February, in fact, to be more precisely, 24th of February, when Russia attacked Ukraine. And I have children, so and we are really close to the war, so we understand that if Ukraine fell, we'd be the next ones. In fact, we don't know where Russia's scary nukes are pointing. So I remember when we were here with the children and I was reading the news, I was getting so nervous because it suddenly became clear that there is no guarantee that tomorrow will come. Tomorrow might not come. I was putting my kid to sleep. I was singing to my daughter and thinking to myself, are we going to sleep through the night, or is something going to go wrong and we'll wake up in the middle of the night? And that was such an interesting experience because I suddenly realized that there is nothing I can do about my overwhelming fear, about the desire to protect my children, because some things are just out of my control. So, with not knowing if tomorrow is going to happen, the only thing I can do is enjoy the now, because the now is still there. And that was such a wake-up call for me. I mean, I've practiced being in the present moment, of course, 20 years in personal growth, but sometimes you do need a shake-up to just remind yourself that, yes, life goes one way, people get old, we get sick, we die, but right now, can I enjoy right now without worrying about what the future is going to bring me?
If you worry about the future, you're wasting your time because nobody
Mhm.
knows what's in the future. And all you really have is the present.
Yeah,
And in that moment that you were singing to your daughter, that may have been a moment that she'll remember her entire life,
I hope so.
which is really cool. Excuse me. Let's talk about your career and your programs and what you offer people and how people can get a hold of you so that they can work with you.
So I'm a very leisurely person. I don't do a lot of one-on-one work. I have some programs which are recorded, and I do have my Instagram account where I'm most present, and it's only me writing. So there are no layers, no writers, no copywriters. But of course, if you want to find me, like I would suggest going to Mindvalley. I'm a co-founder of Mindvalley. I'm one of the authors. I am there. You'll find my talks there, and occasionally, if I have an event, it will be all there.
And that is mindvalley.com.
Yes, it's mindvalley.com.
Oh, very cool. Now, how big of an organization is this now? It looks at, the New York Times, Forbes, USA Today, Entrepreneur, BBC, Inc., all those you've been part of.
Mm.
It's really cool.
We publish some of the best authors in the world, and we've had we currently have about 30. Normally, we have about 30. We take on new. We sometimes stop publishing others. So we've had a lot of great authors go through Mindvalley. A lot of amazing speakers go through Mindvalley. Across the world, we have about 15 million. Followers and not quite paying customers, but for a lot of followers. With paying customers, it's more in the tens of thousands, but yeah, it's a big company which has been around for a long time, and I'm very privileged to be part of it. It wasn't my choice, as I said. I happened happened in Mindvalley by accident. Or maybe, yeah, I happened to Mindvalley, I guess.
Well, but you're a co-creator, so
Yeah,
you know.
I'm a co-creator, but it is a blessing because I've been able to learn from the best people, the best teachers in the world directly, and it became my mission. It took 15 years for me to become the butterfly. It took time, but now it just, if I look back, I think I can't imagine being in the government or being a diplomat as I wanted to be.
Well, you know, your life is free. Have the courage to follow it, and you're doing that. By the way, just so you know, this is Positive Talk Radio, and I interview all kinds of people that are just like the people that you have at Mindvalley. So I would, if you just think about it and want to pass my information along, that would be, you know,
Sure.
because because I really I believe wholeheartedly that we are all one and that we have to change our where we are and how we are behaving towards each other, towards the world, and I support that wholeheartedly. And so I do this a lot. So anybody that you know that you think would benefit or would have be a good fit to come here and talk and to enlighten our audience, that would be just special.
Sure, sure. I believe we have the same connecting link, Natasha, who was part of Mindvalley, so I'm sure it's easily doable.
Oh, good. So I'm going to go butter Natasha up
Yeah.
and, and say, hey, by the way, if you don't mind, because I've got an unending, I would like to have an unending supply of people. And in fact,
Mhm,
one of the things that I'm working on now, Christina, is I I'm working to develop like a list of like 125 uh, movers and shakers and light workers and people that are really interested in making our world a better place, and then featuring them like once a quarter to come back and be recurring with us so that I can promote them and we can do the show together because it gets more fun and more fun the more we do it. And I
mhm.
would love to include you in that if you'd be interested.
Thank you. That would be amazing. And actually, like how you approach it, because I remember a little earlier somebody was asking about competition, and it's business is business after all. But I really love the view that we keep in Mindvalley, that our competition is actually, the ignorance and the unhappiness and the depression, and these are the things that we are actually competing with. And if you look at personal growth transformation, it is really a movement, and we have to support each other. We have to be in it together, because we are not uh, sharing one big pie. We're actually working with the human unhappiness, with things that make this world miserable for some people. The ignorance that sometimes keeps people just stuck and not seeing how to get out of that. And then maybe we come back to that question that we started with: why am I here? What am I doing here?
Exactly. I had a conversation with somebody just the other day. She said, "Well, now you've got a coach that is sponsoring your program, and her name is Allison Roberts, and she's out of the East Coast, and she's sponsoring your program, and you're running commercials. Yet you'll have a coach on while you're doing a commercial for her, and you'll be interviewing a coach." And she said, "Why would you do that?" And, and I said, "Well, number one, because there's enough." There's
Mm,
enough of everything. There's enough work to go around. There's enough, and the more people that we can sing together in one
mhm,
voice like a choir, the better opportunity we have to make mass change in the world, because we're trying to raise the consciousness of everyone.
I totally agree. Every time I hear a speaker who speaks my words, I'm like sister or brother. Like, finally, I'm not alone. I know my voice may be not so strong, but if we're in a choir, maybe it will be stronger.
Absolutely. And well, and I've had the fortune of, over time, I've been doing this for like 20 years off and on, and I've interviewed Neil Donald Walsh and Gary Zukav and many others, Marianne Williamson and others, and Greg Braden and just a ton of folks. And
Mhm.
what and, I keep referring to my kid, because we had this conversation just the other day, and he said, "Dad, how come all of these people come onto your show and they all say roughly the same thing?" In their own words, of course, and in their own genre of what they're talking about, but they all seem to have the same. And I said, "Well, son, these people don't know each other.
Mm.
They've never met. It's not like a conglomerate of people that are singing this. It's not like they're part of the Catholic Church and we're all Catholics. It's they This is a something that they've come to from their heart,
Mhm.
from the inside, and this is what they truly believe. From It is their soul, it is their feeling, it is who they are, and you're one of those. And um that's why they all say roughly the same thing, because not only do they say the same thing, it's because it's true, and
Mhm.
it has resonance. It rings true for all of these people, and the more people that we can infect with that, if lack of a better term, we can help the world change. And right now, you're in a part of the world that I am so sorry for what's
Mhm.
going on there, and my heart goes out to the I, you know you see films of World War II, and you
Mhm.
see the films of the desolation and all of that's going went on there. But now we're seeing it in real time. It is scary to see
It
it
is.
all in real time. And I've got a real good friend who's in Finland. I'd like to call you my real good friend, and I'm concerned for, thank God that the Ukrainian people are standing up and saying, no, we will not go quietly into the night.
Mhm.
And hopefully this whole thing will come to an end, and that we as a civilization realize that we cannot allow one guy, and this
Mm.
is basically one guy, to cause so much pain and destruction because of ego.
Mhm. Well, I think that's why our job is not finished, because I truly believe that most of the nasty things that happen in the world happen because people act out of their pain. And I remember my son, he was still a young kid when we were watching a movie. He was maybe 6, 7. And the movie was showing a path of one of the characters who was just being bullied and hurt. And my son said, "Oh, this is going to be the villain." And it was so interesting because I looked at him and I thought, he's so young, but he actually made an interesting conclusion that if somebody is hurt and treated unjustly repeatedly, it's one of the paths is to actually uh, to become the bully yourself. And of course, he was right in that movie. The character did become a villain. But as I'm quoting my good friend Vina a second time, she's a very wise woman, not an author in personal growth, just a wise woman. And she says, hurt people hurt people. And I think that whatever conflict you take, whatever the people who can't agree, who can't let go, um, who can't be humane, they actually very often are playing out their own hurts.
Yep.
If you're happy, if you love yourself, if you can accept yourself as you are, if your relationship with yourself is good, your relationship with the world is good. And it comes back to the same. You mentioned that in some way that you have to be the change you want to see in the world, but I think it is not even about inspiring other people to change. It's about, fix yourself first. And once you fix yourself, then the world is a little better through that.
Well said. I couldn't agree more, because everything that is on the outside comes from within. And if you can live well and accept yourself and live from within, then none of the other stuff matters. It all just kind of falls away.
Yeah, and of course I'm not judging right now the Ukrainians because they are doing the right thing. They're standing up for their for their country, and that's not the case where I would say let go and move on. But with that said, uh, you know, you only the world triggers you only to the extent that it actually has a hook in yourself. If I were to comment on something which you know is irrelevant and is not true, you wouldn't have a feeling, you wouldn't have an emotion, it wouldn't trigger anything in you. If something that I do triggers anger or response in you, that means that I have struck a chord within you. It is either the chord of you seeing the truth in what I say, or feeling that it is unjust in some way, or maybe it's something that is relevant. That's why you have a reaction, and that's why I'm saying if you fix your relationship with yourself, you will have way less reactions to the outside world. And that's my barometer. If I start noticing that I give sharp comments, or I I don't like people more than normally, then for me that's a red flag. Sit down and ask yourself, what on earth is going in within you? Why do people trigger you? Why do you get upset so easily? And that's why I think you really need to figure out how to fix yourself, because once you fix yourself, you will actually not have any desire to fix the world. The world will just seem quite okay.
Yep.
It's easier to be kind to others if you know how to be kind to yourself. It's easier to tolerate other people's quirks if you can tolerate your own quirks. It's easier to forgive others when you can forgive yourself.
That is the challenge of our time. In my opinion, is to learn how to forgive yourself, learn how to love yourself, and to let the rest of it go, and let God, it'll take care of itself. And who knows what happens in the future, but live today, live for the moment, live in the now, as Eckhart Tolle would say. Live right now, and everything will take care of itself. Kristina, it has been just a pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you so much.
I have really enjoyed it. If somebody would like to contact you, that you can go to, or contact Kristina, you can go to Kristina Mand, that's MAND.com. She's got programs that you can access. She's got ways for you to start to think about maybe living life a little bit differently. She can help you with that. Thank you for that, by the way.
Thank you so much. I can share what I know about it, and it's your choice. Do you want to help it? I mean, do you want to change? Sure, come. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't know anybody that is well, there was one guy, okay, who was so complete that he didn't have to worry about anything, and he was perfect. Other than that
Oh my God, what a dreadful life.
guy, I know, and but the rest of us are imperfect at best, and we always can learn and to do a little bit better, and it can make your life. And what's interesting about that is when you change your life, you change the lives of people around you, because
Hmm.
they see that you are different than you were.
And sometimes, with me, it's a little easier. Sometimes it's not about changing anything. Sometimes it's just about accepting what you have and getting the best out of that.
That's also true. That's also true. It's I could talk to you for hours, but I'm going to honor your time. And again, if you want to go to KristinaMand.com, you can find out all about her. She's got programs. She gives talks all the time. She goes to events. She's a well-rounded person who really likes to. Really is in touch with herself, and I appreciate that. And astrophysics, were you really going to be an astrophysicist? What is that?
God, I still like it, but now I like psychology more than that. So it
That's
took
a deep
me,
subject, psychology.
yeah, it took me 20 years to decide that. But then maybe I could have combined both. I don't know. No. Psychotherapist, astrophysicist.
You know,
Next life.
yeah. Well, no. When I was just thinking, when I was younger, would play golf with a friend, and he'd have a bad hole, or I'd have a bad hole, and he'd say, "What?" And he'd say like, "Well, that's it." And my answer to that has always been, hey, look, it ain't over yet. So it ain't over yet. You're a young person. You got all kinds of potential and time.
Hopefully, yes. I'm not sure about physics anymore, but no, actually, who knows? Who knows?
Who
Why
knows?
not?
You could write a book on astrophysics in relationship to metaphysical, in relationship to the quantum theory, and then it would be way above my head, and you'd have to come talk to me and tell me how to read it.
Stephen Hawking did good jobs for now, so I'll take psychology first, but then yeah, we'll see. Life is unpredictable. Maybe that will be a necessary skill, like driving license, if we have to go to other planets to exist. So who knows?
Exactly, and we're never done. That's the beauty of this life, is until your last day. My mother, who passed away this last summer, had a beautiful life. She was 90 years old. She played bridge on Wednesday, went out to dinner on Thursday, visited friends on Friday, went home and died.
Oh,
and
good ending.
I can't think of a better way to end our existence here, rather than sit in your house and wait for that great moment to come. You go and you live your life, and then when it happens, it's like, okay, all right, that's fine. I did well, and you're doing well, and thank you for being here. And will you come back?
With pleasure, of course. Thank you for having me this time. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And by the way, Kristina Mand, and a last name that I can't pronounce. But go to KristinaMand.com and access her programs and do everything. If you'll wait right there, I will be right back and say goodbye. So hold on. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share